Here we are at the long arm machine. I've got my backing, my batting, and my quilt top. I'm going to explain to you why we need extra on top, bottom, and each side. This is my leader cloth. There's also an ender cloth over here. I've got a hammock on my long arm to make sure nothing touches the floor. This is the center of my fabric. And this is also why a nice clean edge on the top and bottom is really helpful to somebody who does your long arm quilting. I need to go along the leader and ender cloth and pin this. So I'll go all the way down and all the way to the other side. Then I'll show you that. Here's how I like to pin mine. Let's see, let's get a little closer. Some people actually will baste it to this cloth. There's also big magnets you can use. You can also pin from the back side. I'm tall, I have no problem reaching over. I always put one of these cutting mats underneath to keep from scraping the base of the long arm. Line it up nice and straight, and it's got some little marks here, and then of course the edge of the cloth, and there's more markings on it. You can mark it up so it's straight, and I'm going to pin all the way down. Again, this is why it's very helpful that you cut your backing fabric nice and straight. You can see I've got it pinned all the way down. Now I'm going to roll it up and smooth it out as I go. This is going to help me make sure that the bottom gets on straight. Not everybody does it this way. I find this works for me. Again, I've got that hammock there, so none of this is touching the floor as I loosen it. So as you roll, you're going to want to smooth it. If you can see that, let me move this up just a hair. There we go. So you can roll it and smooth it. This also gives me a chance to make sure there's nothing wrong with the fabric. There's no marks, big threads, anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and continue this, and then I'll show you what happens when I get to the bottom. Here's my seam. See how I loaded it so the seam is going this way rather than going this way because it'll be quilted top down. The fabric is all rolled on that top bar there. This is the bottom edge of my fabric. Same thing. I'm going to go ahead and go along and pin it to that cloth. That also gives me the opportunity to make adjustments. I want to make sure that the fabric's on nice and straight. Got the bottom pinned. I have a lint roller. As I'm back rolling the fabric, I'm going to look for lint because we don't want anything to show through on the back side of the quilt. So to back roll, I'm going to start by flipping that over. Sorry, I got to walk from the camera here. I'm going to tuck this in my pocket. Now you'll notice there's another bar here. You can use this for your quilt top. I float my quilt tops, and I'll explain that in a minute. What I'm going to do, you'll hear clicking, is back roll this. So you roll it. You need to watch out for your pins. Smooth it, smooth it. And I'm going to be looking for keeping it straight and for pieces of lint as I go. You want to make sure it's nice and flat. If for some reason it's uneven, you can adjust. That's a little too detailed for this video. I'm going to back roll, and we're looking for lint. Make sure it's straight. Dog hair. Here's my seam. As I'm rolling, I'm going to make sure the seam tucks underneath and rolls nicely to prevent wrinkles. Everything's rolled, everything's on the long arm. Let me give you a better view. Now I'm going to put on the batting and the quilt top and explain a little bit more about needing the extra fabric on all sides. Here we are with the quilt top on the machine. Backing, batting, quilt top. This one's short, it doesn't touch the ground. When they're longer, I tuck them underneath like this. That's what I use the hammock for. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Here's the backing fabric pinned to the leader cloth, your batting, and your quilt top. On the side of the machine, you've got the 2 clamps. This gives the fabric some tension. And then of course you've got your big machine. So you've got the machine bed. You can see you don't want that machine bed to come in contact with that as you're quilting. So you need, there's the extra fabric there. When you use a pantograph, you want to make it look good on the quilt, so you'll run it off the sides a little bit so it completely covers the quilt. You don't ever try to match it right along the edge. You're going to base the edges down to hold your quilt top, and then the pantograph will need room to run like this. So if it's running, it's going to go over the top, and of course on the sides it's going to run over. And as I showed, you don't want that machine to hit these clips. So if you've got about 4 inches, which is what this is, I've got about 2 inches, a little bit more for my clip here, and then some for the overrun of the pantograph. One thing I forgot to mention is why I don't use the quilt top bar over here. Hi ladies. You can pin your quilt top to this. I choose to do what's called floating the top. So as you're quilting, you know, I'm going to baste here and you baste the sides down and baste the sides down. You've got to hold your quilt. But then when you advance, you roll it up, and that gives me the opportunity to pick up the top, look underneath, look right here. Sorry, the washing machine's going. See the dark thread? I want to get rid of that because I don't want that to show through. And I can also check and see is something not folding right, not laying right, and I can make that adjustment. Alright, I'm going to pick a design and we'll get it laid out and I will show the long arm stitching. I got 2 rows done. And I want to show you something. Let's bring this in right here. I think I have to move the machine because of the light. It's very difficult sometimes with this machine. There we go. Do you see the red thread? So this got caught between the batting and the quilt top. What do you do if this happens? This pantograph stitches this way. Around, leaf, and down. If I want to pull this thread out, I need to pick out some stitches here and here, and I haven't done this part of the quilt top, and I can reach under, pull it out, get some tweezers, pull it out, and then you have to back up your pattern on the machine, and then you would set it to re-stitch the parts that you had picked out. This is part of the reason why when you send your quilt out to be long armed, you need to flip to the back of your quilt and trim all your stray threads. If this was a customer quilt, I would do just that. I would pick this out, lift up, and pull the thread out. I watch the machine as it runs. It's very rare I don't catch something like this before it happens, so it's a good opportunity to show it in the video. This is my quilt for my personal use, and frankly, the dogs probably are going to end up sitting on it. So I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to keep this also as an example for when people bring me their quilts. I pull out quilts to show them. We go over the different pantographs, the scale. Like this is what I would call a large scale quilting. But this is a great example for me to show somebody. This is why you need to turn your quilt top over and trim those threads. If it's going to show through and you don't want it to show through, you want to make sure all your threads are trimmed. Let's get back to quilting. We are all done quilting. The lighting in here is not the best, and it's raining today. get a look at it. Came out really good. I'm pleased with it. I like the large pantograph. Nice big happy flowers. Now you can see my sides aren't exactly straight. We're going to trim this up and I'm going to show you how to even that out. And in case anyone is wondering, when I quilt my own quilts, my support staff is usually here. When I do other people's quilts, all of that comes out of the room.